All right, guys, we finally did it. We got our top. I've got my first top 16 finished, which means I finally have gotten an invite. It took longer than it should have, probably like 2 or so years, but I finally did it, and I did it with Purrely. And so here's the deck profile. It's extremely standard for the Purrely engine because why would you ever change or take out any of the cards that you can play? So we're essentially playing the maximum of just about every single card that's playable, where we're playing 3 of every memory that is a 3 of, 1 of Delicious because we're forced to, and then 3 of each cat. Make sure that's seeable. So 3 black cat, 3 white cat, and 2 of the traps. There is literally nothing that I would change, obviously, from this deck list. I would not cut the field spell down any, even in hands where I see extras of it. I'm just like, okay, cool. Now I can play into Rescue Ace better, or it's a discard. Like I was never mad about seeing too many of either of the trap or the field spell or the continuous spell for that matter. So I wouldn't even consider cutting any of these cards. And then the MVP for the engine for today's tournament was Pretty Memory. This card came up, and it came up pretty big very often. The second effect, the attach effect, was absolutely insane. It got me through a lot of the simplified game states, and importantly, so I had to play tier 3 times in a row. And the first match, game 1, took 41 minutes. And the only way either of us won that game was when one of us would just give up. And so we're in this grind fest, and eventually what happens is I get all 3 pretty memories on the one Noir, and I just attach all of his field, and he's just like, yeah, we'll go to the next game. Because my Noir was like 10, 12 mats, and he's playing tier, so it was over at that point. And in general, this card, this second effect, is ridiculous. It's insane. So for the second engine I played, a little micro engine, I just played an extremely small Dark World package. My goal with this isn't like I need to open a Dark World in every hand I play. It's I want a little engine that it provides me some sort of advantage in the long run. So right now I've got 2 Snow, a Silva, and a Grapha, mostly because that's all my friend gave me. You could probably play 3 Snow, a Silva, and a Grapha, but honestly, I kind of like it this way because it gives your Snow 1 of 3 purposes every time you search. You can either just grab another discard to keep your hand full. You could grab a summon that you can either use for another card in this non-engine for the deck, or just as material for links, like Azalea. Fun fact, I did not have SP for this tournament, so Azalea was as far as I could get, and Grapha. Grapha is actually really big for when you're playing into back row. Opening this is actually really nice. Into Tikaboo especially, like if you have Grapha and you chain another spell and discard the Grapha, you're able to play. That did not happen today, but having access to Grapha was good for pushing for game very often, where I'd get the Silva or Snow on board and I'd bounce it back for the Grapha to summon from graveyard. Right, so this is for the rest of the non-engine. We'll go over hand traps first and then the spice. So the hand traps we played today, pretty standard. Ash, Imperm, and today I chose Droll instead of Nibiru, and it was infinitely better than Nibiru. You have to choose at least one of the two, I think, personally. You need some sort of board clear or like resource killing hand trap, and Droll and Nibiru are really the only 2 that do that. That and Shifter, but we don't talk about Shifter. And so I chose Droll because honestly, I don't want to have to nib my own board. I think that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. It's like I can resolve Droll on my opponent's turn. I don't care. But if I have to nib and I lose my Noir and it's not via my opponent, I just lose any advantage that I could have just built. So doing that, it just doesn't work. And it came in clutch. I did play Manadium once today. Unfortunately, my hand was 2 Drolls, the Purrely trap, normal Purrely, the white cat, and the field spell, and the Purrely just didn't see anything worthwhile. Well, I lost that match, but, that was just a sign. That's one of those hands. Regardless, these came in really clutch for me. Droll was very good. Ash was fine. And, Ash will never be bad. It'll just sometimes be, I wish it was something else, but you're never going to be like, it did nothing for me, nothing. And then Imperm is just so good because going second, it helps as well. And in the grind game, if they happen to get rid of your field spell and your continuous spell, then this is alive again. And so for the final piece of non-engine, the spice is Econ. My thought process with Econ is very often you can make an extra body that you don't need. And this also lets you dodge Imperm, Veil, or any of the targeting cards. So we put in Econ. Part of the reason I wanted something like that to dodge Imperm type cards is because of Rescue Ace and their dominance at Indy. It's not like cats Purrely have a hard time into Rescue Ace at all because of the field spell, but having one more piece of interaction is just really nice. It also, this came up really big, forcing a Baron out of my opponent because I'll normal the first cat. They'll attempt to impermit or imperm-like effect, and then I econ, tribute the cat, so it's gonna resolve, and then force the Baron because I'm targeting the Baron. And so that interaction was very good. And that's not the only interaction that does it for, but that's the best example I have from today. So Econ as a Spice card was really good for me. So here's the funny part. I didn't have SP or Typhoon for my deck list today, which really, like, I wish I would have had them, but, you know, you're still able to function without it very well. You know, you still have your standard cats, one of each Beauty and Plump, two of each Little Noir, Little Happy, and Big Noir. And then you have your Zeus package, right? So you have Zeus, Downard, and whatever rank 1 you like. I personally like assembled Nightingale. It plays through boards like the Feather Duster, or not Feather Duster, Feather Storm. Feather Storm boards are boards where it's like mass negate or you can't activate monster effect type boards, or boards where you don't want to have to activate a monster effect because if you do, say they have a Fenrir Stone board and you just lose your monster. And then also you don't have to worry about whether or not your opponent summons in defense or not. You can just go straight to the face. And so that's why I'm big on Nightingale. It came up a few times where I needed to make it for Zeus. And so I'm very glad I had it. Of course, you could choose other cards. You'd be wrong. Like, you could take Princess Sprite, but it's not worth it, I don't think. I think I'd always rather have Nightingale, especially because of the application and time. You know, there's only a few minutes left, and you go into your turn. You force out as many of their interactions as you can, and then you find your way into Nightingale, and you just win from that. And so that's why I very much liked that. It's needless to say, you have to have at least one of all the little cats. Happiness and Noir come up the most. I feel like I could have cut one of these down, like Happiness down to 1 as well, but I wouldn't say I was unhappy that I had 2 of each of these. Just in the future, when I'm gonna have to make one cut of something in here, and I feel like it's either the second Zeus or one of these 2, and I'm not sold on which it's gonna be yet. And the reason will become very apparent in a second. And so we have also the little link package. Anima actually came up. My opponent summoned an Anima column, and so I was able to take his Redoer, so he couldn't just keep getting resources, and so that was pretty good for me. Obviously, Azalea is Azalea. I do not have SP at the time, so this was my pseudo SP, and Dark was just there because I needed a 15 card extra deck, and so that was my final card. Though I was able to find the SP. I eventually got the SP. So for Gloomy, you're playing SP, no questions asked. It's just so much better. And then, yeah, I think getting Typhoon Anti-Zeus is going to be really good for this deck because you make Big Noir, right? But then you make, like, outside of Plump, you make any of the other cats, or sorry, either Happiness or Beauty, and then you just slam Typhoon on that, and you're big enough. Or if you have any of the Dark Worlds, you just have a Typhoon and the Noir, which is crazy. And finally, we'll hit the extra deck. I only found 2 Crows, and so I played 1 Druis Worm. The main point with this specific stack of cards is I wanted to be able to play into, funnily enough, the Mirror, but Unchained as well as Tier. And so this is the best coverage I had. Obviously, 3 Crows would be best, I think. Although Druis Worm is still very, very good, especially if you link it off with Azalea or SP. And then for back row hate, it was Cosmic and Evenly. My thought process was, I want to clear as much as I can. I don't want to deal with any protection. We're gonna get rid of as much of it as we can. And then Cosmic comes up where there's a lot of just randomly really good field spells or continuous spells. Also, it's just like, it's a singleton, easy, just get rid of something kind of card. Plus mine CR looks nice, so I like playing it. And so for the final hand traps, I mentioned earlier that you have to play at least Nib or Droll, and I wasn't a big fan of running Droll, Nib, but you have to, like, both are just so good, especially with how this deck works, that I ended up had to put it in. The final card was Dark Ruler, which was really a last-minute addition. I was talking with my friend, my roommate, and we were talking, and we realized there are some really ignorant-ass combo decks that exist, and you need some sort of answer to them, and Dark Ruler is just the easiest one, right? You know, Droplet is certainly a card that could be played, but you kind of just lose too many resources. And when I'm playing the Purrely deck, this deck, I'm thinking I'm just getting resource advantage. I want my opponent to throw like build as big a board as you want, but I'm gonna slowly piece it apart and start building back the advantage. Right, I'm gonna destroy your board or maybe attach it or do whatever I need to, force out all of your interaction, and then start working towards building my own board, which normally was Purrely target happy, make happiness, and start searching and making big cat, making a big cat with a lot of materials. It's hard making it. Also, in case you were, confused, this paper mat, I'm not doing it just because it's a joke, funny, haha. This is the mat I played on today. I forgot my mat at home, and so I had to play this, and it treated me very well, as you can see. Best finish I've ever had. Which, I mean, it's not the best finish ever, but you know what? For me, this is pretty big actually. And so, yeah, I mean, to start my day, I opened a QCR, Wanted, the Sinful Spoils, and I turned that into both of these, which, little brag. But, so, overall, it was a good day, and now I just gotta wait till Nationals so I can get my deck list. Now I can start messing around with stupid stuff and make stupid deck profiles again, guys. That being said, fellas, get back to the kitchen and keep on cooking. I finally got my top 16th finish, so I'm just living in the moment right now. Catch y'all later.
I ordered a thing of fries, and I only ordered one, but for some reason they gave me two.